To Parliament now. Government could have done better to avoid the July unrest and is promising to up its game to prevent future occurrences. Deputy President David Mabuza shouldered the blame for the riots in July during a question and answer session this afternoon in the National Council of Provinces. eNCA reporter Linsay Dentlinger has been following those proceedings and she joins us now. Linsay, hi. So it seems that the Deputy President is healthy enough to now partake in the business of government again. Talk to us about what he said about the July unrest, which I believe dominated the session.
Yes, Sally, and in fact this topic has been dominating both houses of Parliament for the last 3 days. There have been debates in both houses, various ministers have been responding, and today it was the Deputy President's turn, and he accepted that government was too slow at keeping its finger on the pulse of what was happening. He said it was too late, that government had reacted rather than being proactive, that early warning systems should have been in place. They should have known what was coming, and he said that he just had to apologize to South Africans for the lives lost, for the businesses that have been destroyed, for the people who have lost jobs, that they no excuse, he said, no grievance, he said, could excuse this kind of violence. And he actually made the promise, Sally, to South Africans that this would never happen again. He said if it came about that a similar situation was brewing again, government would be better prepared and would be able to stave off the violence. So he wasn't about to make any excuses for what happened, and said security agencies were really a bit on the back foot when it came to handling this situation, which is again a little bit at odds, Sally, from what we heard from the police minister just 2 days ago in the National Assembly. But let's take a listen to the explanation that the Deputy President gave members of the NCOP this afternoon.
Well, on the face value of things, we can simply agree with the honourable member that these riots and unrest were sparked by the arrest of the former president. But we don't want to take things at face value. We want to thoroughly investigate the cause and probably the plan, so that we come up with a very conclusive and correct report about what happened. Well, I think as a country, we must accept that we could have done better as the security cluster in trying to avoid this kind of occurrence. That is why we've committed ourselves that we'll step up our game, we'll strengthen these institutions, law enforcement and our security structures, so that we set ourselves some warnings, prior warnings, before such incidents can occur. I think as government, we should be knowing. Therefore, we are preparing ourselves, we are strengthening ourselves, and want to assure our society and our public to say this won't happen again. We'll be ready the next time around.
And the issue of racial tension in the Phoenix community of Durban, also getting MPs quite hot under the collar. What did the Deputy President say about that matter?
So, Sally, just to point out again what the police minister said in the National Assembly on Tuesday, making it unequivocal to MPs that he believed that the people killed in Phoenix were as a result of their skin colour, and made it clear that he felt that that was a racial incident. Not so, though, Sally, says the Deputy President this afternoon. He cautioned MPs, saying they had to be careful not to label this a racial war, he said. And again, as he pointed out in that sound clip you've heard earlier, he said the situation was being thoroughly investigated in Phoenix to determine whether there was racial tension, whether the murders were sparked because of such tension. But he said finger pointing had to stop. He said if South Africa were to bridge the divide, were to work towards its goals of a non-racial society, then finger pointing wasn't going to be the answer. And he said, in fact, it was a sign of poor leadership. So as government, he was not prepared to label this a racial war to start off with, and he was not going to agree with any MPs who suggested that the attacks were racially based. He said until such time as a proper investigation had been conducted. And then, Sally, he was also asked a question which also linked to this situation on moral generation program, which he also heads, and he said to label this immediately a racial issue would just waste all the effort and the time that is going into smoothing over the tensions in those communities, the programs that are being instituted, the community leaders and others who are working to try to bring about harmony and for those communities in Phoenix to get along better and to live alongside one another in harmony. Here's the Deputy President again.
For us as government, we must avoid really finger pointing, because that's not leadership. Now, to help this House with information is that government has undertaken to investigate what has happened, especially in Phoenix, so that we can come out with a report that will say, yes, this was a racial tension, this was motivated by racial undertones, and therefore the report will recommend this and this and this. So government is doing an investigation, and I'm sure it's at an advanced stage. And we welcome all the participants that went in there to go and make their assessment. But this government, we want to take a thorough investigation because life has been lost. So we're not using this as a point-scoring event.
All right, so Linsay, I'm not sure if you are still with us. I just wanted to pick up on that last item. It was quite interesting how the Deputy President and the Police Minister have quite different views on this matter. It's not the first time we've seen contradictions and differing opinions around the unrest in July. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. And thank you very much, eNCA reporter Linsay Dentlinger. Now,